Good morning. This is the Focus on Parliament show on Civic Space TV, brought to you by the Center for Constitutional Governance. I am Kwagala, your host. Is money the root cause of Uganda's opposition political parties' problems? Well, on this program, we interrogate this disturbing phenomenon and what it means for the wider multi-party political dispensation outlook in the country, especially in the run-up to the 2026 general elections. Joining me to discuss this topic is a panel of very eminent young people who I will now introduce to you in no particular order. Starting from my immediate left is Mr. Brian Batenda. Atuhaire. Batenda.
Yes.
Is it Batenda?
Yes, Batenda.
Unstoppable.
That's the nickname. That's my name.
I know Brian to have very strong affiliation to the FDC. Is it now the Katonga faction or the Najana Nkumbi?
The FDC is not a political party per se. It was not formed just to become FDC. It was formed for a purpose. When it veers off the purpose, it ceases to be FDC. So I don't think there's FDC now. If FDC is there, it's in Katonga.
So you're not affiliated to any of the factions?
I am presently. I lean towards Katonga.
Towards Katonga?
Yes, because I gave them a timeline where I could be available for the activities, and I think my timeline is done. I'm doing other things these days.
You're most welcome, sir. You say hello to the viewers.
Good morning, everybody. Hope to have a good discussion today about the issue of money and political parties.
Thank you, Brian, for joining us. Next to Brian is the only lady on the show, Miss Hellen Ashaba Zion. Hellen is the Vice President for the Uganda Young Democrats. Hellen, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so
Say
much.
hello to the viewers.
Good morning, viewers. It's nice being here.
Yes, and Mr. Burobuto, Jotham, the Executive Director for the Progressive Youth Tank. Jotham, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you, Isaac. Yamu Burobuto is my name. Good morning, dear viewers, and it's Progressive Think Tank. Maybe also another correction, I am not a young person. Maybe you could say young adult. But I refuse to be called a young person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You're most welcome to the program.
Thank you, Isaac. Pleasure to be here.
Let me begin with you, Brian. There is this whole discussion about the money, which of course is being dangled at you, the people in the opposition, by the ruling party, the NRM, specifically under the hand of the president. Have you partaken of that money, you personally?
First of all, I don't want to answer questions as you want to ask them like a child. So I'll give you a narrative that, first of all, I think Adam and Eve, there was no money, but there was an apple. Because I think there was no money then.
No, but, as a member of the opposition, have you partaken of that money?
I want to come slowly. They don't. Then I want to be very quick. Then there is the life of Jesus Christ. You know the coins, and the betrayal of Jesus Christ. Now it's not that money. You should not discuss money as if it's just starting now. Money in this regime and buying political opponents has been available either to individuals or to institutions. When Mbaba wanted to contest for president in 2015, I remember his secretariat, which was in Nakasero Kororo, was assembled with Idi Radiani and everybody. They addressed the press conference and closed the secretariat and left because of money. But he didn't discuss it because it was the pressure group. We have had members of FDC who have been bought individually to join the other group, the junta, the NRM. This time, I think Museveni was tired of buying individuals, so he came for the whole cow. So bring FDC, buy it. They bought to DP, bundled somewhere, and it's done.
You excuse DP for some time.
Or UPC.
And speak for
or UPC for that case. And for all the parties, because FDC is not the first one. But why it is making a lot of why it is making a lot of news is because it is big, because we have two factions in DP, two factions in UPC, two factions now in FDC, all of them split by money. So do not put FDC at the spotlight. It's not special. It is operating in the same circumstances that other parties are operating in. Whether but partaking with the money as an individual, no. As a collective, no. So I don't know where the money is. But I don't want it also because I am now I'm going to be 35. I have lived all my life without their money. So I don't think I need it.
But you acknowledge that your part has been split by their money.
We acknowledge that the party is split because of money. And the money from seven, not by the way, saying money is wrong. It could be from a donor, that's okay. It could be from the known channels, it's okay. But we are saying money came in from Museveni, split to tell everybody. But first of all, before we split, make sure that the leadership carries us in a basket and delivers us. Us who jumped out of that basket are called a faction. But the ones who are in Najana Kombi, Nandra Mafaba and the power could be carrying them on the head, take it towards the Entebbe. I don't know where they have reached, whether they're in Qatar, I don't know. But they're on that road.
Brian, I'll return to you in a moment. Let me ask you, Hellen. Your party, and Brian here contends rather strongly, that FDC shouldn't be considered as an isolated, party in this discussion. Your party also, lately, is, attracting a lot of attention, especially from the public, even from members of the party itself, that it's among those which have been since compromised by the NRM under the hand of the president. And we now see a wedge between the leadership. There are those that are still affiliated to the mainstream DP, which has since now joined the government. And then there is another faction which is saying they do not recognize that leadership as legitimate. I want to ask a personal question. Have you partaken of this money?
I want to start from the submission of Brian and make it clear that in DP we do not have factions, we have contradictions. And contradictions arise when sober people are in a room and there is disagreeing to agree. So that is what is happening in DP. For us, we don't have factions. That is why we only have one DP office and all of you know where it is. Have you heard of any other faction or what opening an office? It is not that. It's our political office at Valintoma Road. That is where we do our press conferences and big functions. But our office is at City House. That is where we do administrative work. And when we have other functions that are big, we go to Valintoma that has a compound. So in DP, we have contradictions and we appreciate them, that we have sober people who will come and sit on a round table and say, you are entering an agreement, and that is democracy. Me, I do not agree with that, but I am a DP member. They do not disassociate and go around making a lot of noise from streets and all that. And they make noise, they make their points very clear. That is what is happening in DP. As for money discussions, I believe that the problem we have in this country is not even about parties that are eating money or what. We have a problem of personal interests. And people are fighting for space, not money. Whoever you see running up and down saying this one ate, is because they want space that they feel that person has taken over. And that is it. In the DP, whoever you see are making noise and all that, you know that they want a position. And people have mastered the art. Because in this country, it seems that the person who makes the best and a lot of noise is the one that wins the game. And that is not how it should be. That is how we've groomed our politics, that if tomorrow a Besigye wakes up and says, I do not agree with the other one, he's fighting Museveni, but the struggle should be about Uganda. If, for example, you are telling us that the other part of Najana Kumbi ate Museveni's money, where is the evidence? Why didn't you sit and solve the... So you want to tell me if you have problems in your own house, you will keep divorcing there and then, there and then. That is where we are having a problem, that people who are fighting for space, people who are having personal interests that they are not achieving through that certain space, and maybe they feel they are not fitting on the table properly, because everyone that is sitting on the table wants to chair. But not all of you can chair a meeting. Every meeting must have one chair. If you don't want to be a chair, that is what they are saying. They want to step aside and again convene their own meeting. So me, I don't agree with the notion of money. I agree with the notion of interests that are very personal and are not even in line with the ideologies of our parties.
So are you therefore implying that it was personal interest that motivated your party president to negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the ruling government?
Our party president did not negotiate as Norbert Mao. You know very well it was a signed agreement between the DP and the NRM on very key points that we are trying to Ugandans, and that is it all.
So have you united Ugandans?
It is an agreement.
Key members of your party have disputed that, but I'll return to you.
And that is the democracy that I talked about. That you can wake up tomorrow and say, I am in DP, but this specific thing, if it's an election, I am not voting it. That is democracy. But they are still in DP. Have you heard anyone disputing and saying, me, I am waiting for 2025, so I announce? No.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me pick Yam's perspective. Yam, you are an observer of the Ugandan political landscape, and I know you have a very keen interest also in matters good governance and the promotion of multi-party politics and political pluralism. What is your view of the recent and emerging reports that, you know, the president is dangling money at opposition political parties so that they are compromised, weakened, and maybe ultimately destroyed so as to facilitate his smooth, consolidation of power going forward?
Thank you, Isaac. I'll begin it from, I think it would not be proper to allow Hellen run away from, from the fact that the biggest defections are actually from DP. The most recent, the highest number of defections was from DP to NUP. We have a number, were they 9? Almost
10.
Lost almost.
Was that also motivated by money? Was that motivated by money?
Not about money,
some
but
information is that there's a difference between a faction and a defection. When you defect,
you first become a faction, then you defect.
When you defect, it means that at the time you have completely said my ideology and what I believe in is no longer served here. Yeah. When you defect, you go. A faction is when you are still in an entity and you choose to go somewhere. We do not have that in DP.
Well, the point I was making is that that's one way to look at it, and it could be right. The other way to look at it is that they could have decided that there is no democracy in DP like you claim there is, and decided to go where they could find it. But that notwithstanding, where is the president not throwing money? It's not just in political parties. And to discuss it on political parties would be really to discuss the symptom and miss the main issue, because President Museveni and some of those around him, I don't want to say his party, have greatly commercialized our body politic beyond repair. So what is happening within political parties is part of that bigger problem. And I don't know if I had a question saying, is it true that there is money being given to political parties from the president? But if it was there, I think clearly every citizen can, every reasonable, sober citizen can see that there is a hand of, there's an invisible hand within all these political parties. And there's no doubt that money is involved, because it's the easiest manipulator you can quickly sway a human being on. Even you, even me, we all have money. We all, in a way, also strive to have a living and a good welfare, and that in a major part is facilitated by money. So it has to take a very sober, a very serious politician to withstand the temptation of falling prey to such a strategy from the state and from the government itself. So it's really more about the caliber of the politicians and the leaders we have in those political parties. Political parties, in essence, are given life by human beings who have life. So they are not the issue as the political parties, but the human beings, the players in those political parties are actually what the issue is, and their caliber and their quality, what is their goal, what is their focus about the state of the country and where it needs to go, what's their conviction about where we need to go, what's their patriotic acumen, because if those do not pass the bar, then certainly we will have the issues that you see happening in all these political parties. So it's much more about our current players in those different political parties that are unable to appreciate what falling into the trap of these monies could mean for them, for the parties, and for the nation at large.
Does it concern you on that very point that this trend seems to be perpetuated without maybe any mechanism by the opposition collectively to fend it off or manage it? But also, when you said that it's a question of the personal convictions and also the capacity of the person in charge of the political party or the vehicle, does it mean that presently we have a deficiency of leaders with the requisite integrity to lead political parties and formations?
To a great extent, yes, I agree. There is no doubt that, of course, you know, by saying that, I don't want to make it seem like therefore the president can do whatever he wants. Even him, he falls short in terms of promoting the good democratic trajectory that we should aspire to as a nation. Leveling the ground for proper competition, for proper engagement and discourse of different ideas by the different players from the different political parties. But you see that it's a personal calculation, endeavor, attempt, stratagem to continue destabilizing and weaken these political parties, like you said, for the sustainability of his grip on the state and the country, therefore, and the regime survival and succession plan. And, you know, you can go on. And recently you see now General Muhoozi's son with a new pressure group. So I hope it's not seen as if therefore we are absolving the president of his part, unfortunate part in this whole scenario, because another player could have decided to allow a contestation of ideas and a contestation of debate from the different players, so that the population and the electorate and the nation could therefore decide on who should be. But again, I mean, it's politics. You can never dictate on a player how they should play. So that's the way he has chosen to play, and it's up to these other players that are in the field to therefore rise up to that kind of play. The question of deficiency, there is absolutely no doubt that we are highly deficient of high-level integrity, patriotic players within the opposition in particular. Clearly in the NRM, they lack a lot. That's why you have all these corruption issues, human rights abuses. So by saying in opposition, I also don't want to be mistaken to be saying that therefore in the government or in NRM that they are there. We generally have a deficiency across board in opposition and in government. But also, I mean, when you look at our players, they've been at, and sometimes, well, maybe let me leave it, but they've been in the struggle for such a long time. And there is prone to be a bit of fatigue, there is prone to be a bit of tiredness in them. They're out of steam. Majority of them are really out of steam, and most of them are now really surviving. They are just keeping afloat. And whichever way they are now deciding to play is really keeping the field. Therefore, it is up to those, you, Unstoppable, Hellen, me, the colleagues out there, to rise up to the occasion and re-energize this struggle. Otherwise, the current players have run out of steam. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They could have been very determined and committed ladies and women then, but from the way we now see how things are, I mean, who could ever imagine that if the allegations are true anyway, Unstoppable seems to say so, that a Nandala and power would be being alleged by not anybody else but Dr. Chiza Besigye that they have taken money from President Museveni to sell out the FDC party to the state. Who could have projected such a day? So these are interesting times, and it is important that the young adults we rise up to the occasion and of ourselves to give this struggle a new direction and a proper trajectory for the good of our country.
Brian is going to build on that and tell us what he's doing. But Brian, let me first revisit the issue of your party, the FDC. Your party is under relentless siege, I should say, because as only of yesterday but one, we've seen a press conference by the leadership of the Katonga faction saying that they are considering proposals to permanently break away from the Najana Nkumbi faction. And if, of course, the delegates, majority of them favor the idea of starting a new political party or a formation known by whatever name known, then that should be the new way. So building on Yam's point that, you see, it's our responsibility and patriotic duty to do something about this situation and maybe restore the confidence that, after all, there are still high-level integrity individuals that can lead the political charge to redeem the country. What have you got to say about that?
One, I have a role to play as a citizen, and I have played that role since I was 16. There's no time I have ever not played that role to make sure that Uganda is better. My problem is that the vehicle I was using crashed. And when a vehicle crashes, you go to the mechanic or the garage.
But yourself? Yourself?
No, I'm safe. Luckily, I'm safe. And I'm outside the vehicle.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm out of the vehicle.
You can always buy another vehicle.
No, I want to show you.
Find another one.
The vehicle has crashed.
He can also buy.
And my head tells me it has crashed. So the first step was take to the garage, which we did. At the garage, they said that maybe we had hope that the engine maybe was still okay. We can buy another body and put on and drive. But maybe when we left it and went to the garage, maybe someone put salt in the engine. And therefore the engine does not work. And therefore we cannot have a vehicle without an engine. And trying to install an engine is very expensive. You rather buy another vehicle. Or you buy a used one and be moving with that one. But
higher.
Oh, higher. So, Katonga is saying their vehicle crashed. It was taken, and the other one said, even when it's visible, it crashed. The other one saying, no, the vehicle is very okay. And as people with knowledge, you can't move in such a vehicle because it's a DMC, you'll have problems. Even if it goes, you kill yourself. So to save ourselves, we are in some shed. We are waiting on mobilizing money and resources to buy another vehicle. I'm using the vehicle in order for the listener and the viewer to know what exactly it is, not to remain, I call it speaking English, not to remain thinking things are going to work, and when they can't work. So it's only the same. And she tried to say that some people maybe are in the streets moving and mad. You know the problem with things or people with power. And now power is not about it's not about being any or anything. You can be DP with the power because the DP member is Constitutional Affairs Minister. One, I think.
So Hellen here has some power.
She has some power. She has some power.
She's a vice president.
I don't know. She has some power because
no,
she has some power because if you call the Constitutional Affairs Minister and comes here and say this is Hellen, that's power. So people with power always want to abuse those without power and want to sanitize whatever they are doing and want to always make the actions the other ones take as if they are dirty and violent. And so I want to go through it. When Besigye contested, he was very violent man, ugly, violent, disruptive, everything. And said that was Besigye who said, okay, Besigye could be that. But in 2016, when Babas stood, you heard what they said? That Babas was violent. Say Babas is violent, is everything. Now, Besigye said, I'm not running, Babas is not running, Kyagulanyi is violent. So, such a language is for those who have power, who want to describe you. What they won't accept is being described by those on their remotes and their sitting rooms doing nothing. We shall do something. And anyway, a moving vehicle raises dust. If you're not moving and not raising dust, then you're doing nothing. So the problem, and that's a very big problem. People go to these parties. So the language being used by some opposition members. You see Nandara and Power calling people like me a goon. because they have some because the police will protect them and beat me up and maybe tear my shirt and they call me a goon. That's the power I'm talking about. The same power is in DP, whether they want it or not. We have seen fights in DP. In Katomi, it was really Katomi. It was not only Katomi. The delegates conference. We have had you saw.
In Katomi there was Chitomi.
It was not Katomi. And so I mean, there was boxing. When they went to Guru and when Mao was voted, you know what happened there. And by the anyway, for DP, you don't even for DP and tried to because she defended it and I kept quiet. DP is the only opposition party that ever crossed the floor. All members, including the leader of opposition, crossed the floor and joined the UPC when broad daylight during Obote's regime.
But hasn't history repeated itself today?
No.
Those facts seem to bear.
Yes. So for them, it's historical. It's not even a moment. No. For them, it's historical. It's their thing. They have done it. And at any time they cross to the floor. And now we see their leader sits on the side of government, but it's the leader of an opposition political party. It's just insane. It doesn't even add up. So for DP, you don't even have to call them to speak anything. Historically, they are that one. So we know them. UPC is shocking us. We don't government. FDC is a new on the block. But the Uganda's oldest party has that now. It's the second time they do it. And by this time, it's better because some people are saying we cannot cross. Their time, all of them, I think one remained, some all others crossed. So that's how they have been both like insane. So, and for us who are resisting that, the good thing I hear on the streets, we are with the population. The population supports us. It is only self-seekers who don't support us. So, and when you have, and you see, what we fight for every day is to make sure that your vote works. I don't want to speak on Uganda, but I was thinking about the money that my struggle is not about Kyagulanyi, Jotham, you, her being president. My struggle is that the one who is voted for is announced and therefore takes charge of the country. And our problem is that the one who wins doesn't take over the country and charge. So, and some friends of mine have said in Uganda very well that Uganda wangura si afuga. So, kati orutaro ruo, we want awangura. Afuge. Just that. Then we can say they are bad leaders, not competent. Just like talking about you, even if you're competent and you win and you're not announced, you'll never lead. You'll be led by incompetent people. So our struggle before we go for competence, integrity, anything, first and foremost, awangura afuge. Just then we shall start. We voted the other one. It wasn't good. His government is not good. So we can change it. People planning to change government, not one individual. Or the military junta deciding that this one can be here, in Kanungu can announce him MP, we can beat this one off, he can win but he cannot be announced as MP. People have to take charge of their country. And that's what we are fighting for. And if money is going to cause is going to be a tool, because we fight every tool that is used to make people not take charge of their country. We're fighting against the gun rule and they're using guns as force. We're also fighting against propaganda. If money has come, we're going to fight against money. Yes, that's the issue. So it's not, we're not starting a new fight or a new struggle or a new thing.
Hellen, Brian's serious charges against your party, notwithstanding.
No, they're not charges. They are facts.
They are facts.
They are facts.
She'll help us verify. But I want us to examine the relationship between your party and the ruling party, the NRM. Now, we were rather, taken aback by the decision of your party president, the Honorable Mao, to join a government which he has perennially criticized as one that does not respect might party politics, the rule of law, ethos of constitutionalism, good governance. And today, those problems, by the way, still persist, which in the past he has, strongly taken exception to. So the question is, how then do you reconcile, the old message with now the new reality? Since you effectively now work together, you
Thank you
constitute
so
the
much.
same government.
I want to appreciate Brian here.
Doesn't it validate his views,
Brian
first and
here
foremost?
is first of all, it's factual that DP members leave our party often. And even in 2016, there are those that left, even in 2011, even before Mao, as they have stated it. But I want to welcome him to the side where people defect.
So you want him to defect to your party?
Is
Is that the invitation?
They are going, because
We
they
are
are
forming
already,
another one.
they are in a queue.
Or you think?
No,
And
she's saying
Eh.
that it's
Since
no
for us-
different the other side
not.
anyway. They are now
They are just
facing the
getting
same.
started.
They are just
Gacha
But they are just-
now we are talking.
Gacha Thank you. You're welcome to the League of Defection.
when you consider Mugisha Muntu
Thank you.
leaving and then now
You know these people broke away in 2021 here, formed a new political party, Mugisha Muntu, now he has aunt. Now they are talking of forming another political party. My whole question, and even you moderators of these shows divert situations. The very question we should be asking ourselves is that, is opposition really still on the course of why it is opposition?
But your party isn't
Because-
opposition anymore.
Please, I
That's
want
not
to
a
tell
valid
you
question.
what DP is.
No.
You a moderator, you
No.
cannot tell me what DP is because you're not in DP.
Your party constitutes the government.
Are you in DP?
That's factual.
Being in government,
Wait,
there is
should
a
we
difference
first discuss
between a
that?
government and political parties.
Your party leader is
We
a minister
agreed-
in the ruling government.
We agreed that we are working together on several cases, on serious points.
Are you opposition?
And they are on paper.
Is your party opposition?
Black and white, properly.
Okay,
Yes.
carry on.
So we must be examining whether we as opposition
it's
are
both
doing what we are
opposition
supposed
and
to do.
government because there are some members of
I
DP that sit on
We-
government side and others that sit
We
on
as opposition
in
should be
opposition.
examining whether we are doing what we are supposed to do. Because we've turned out to be fighting ourselves in the opposition than focusing on the real cause that we should be talking about. Because if you wake up tomorrow and there are fights in DP and that's what we are talking about, the whole panel of are you still in NRM independent now?
No, I take Helen.
If he is FDC,
No.
we are all now focusing on
Helen,
on serious
I take
points.
strong exception to that
So-
for the reason that you constitute government. Your party leader constitutes
Yes.
government. So most of the problems that
Are
we
in
are
government.
raising here, he actually has better latitude and capacity to help us.
He doesn't
solve
have
them.
latitude to solve
And
problems
he's
in
been there
FDC.
for over 2 years now.
He doesn't have
So-
problem. He doesn't have latitude to solve problems in FDC. He's solving problems of the country.
I think so shouldn't go
That
out.
is where
I
you're
think
going
I
wrong.
think so shouldn't go
You
out.
do not expect my president now
I want
to be speaking about issues in FDC, yet he has a whole country to think about. And for us, DP, by the way, we crossed the lane. We are not talking about issues of political
Let her
parties.
conclude.
We are not talking about issues of anyone. We want to discuss issues of Uganda. I can tell you there is nothing that DP has not done. You should be telling me that maybe DP has been government all along, but we've really been there. That we should appreciate. The fact, I want you to ask me that now you've joined the government, or maybe, what are you doing? But again, coming and then you start just telling me that we are in government, so what? The issue should be, if you tried walk to work, you've been in opposition. We want to oppose for the rest of their life. And when nothing is being done, that cannot be the case. The thing is, if you're not in the pitch playing, you will not score a goal. You cannot.
So
Brian,
either
you
the
wanted
pitch-
to react
Do
quickly
you want to
before
throw the ball
I
from
go
out
to
and
Jotham.
put it in the goal post?
And that will not divert the conversation.
Mm.
But first of all, from what she's saying,
Mhm.
from what stopped the pitch,
Mm.
a pitch has standards.
Yes.
a pitch must be flat, must have some cover, the goalposts must be there, and the players must be 11 this side and 11 that side. The ball must be one.
There must be a referee.
And a neutral umpire.
A neutral umpire, and that's the pitch.
Yes.
The pitch you enter digitally, right? Because I want to ask a question now. It's yes or no. Then, or if no, you can, because the pitch, first of all, I want the pitch to be the pitch. Otherwise, we are going in a pitch where some people, the pitch is like this.
There
Some
is
people
a
play
slant.
are playing from inside going here, and are playing from inside going here. No. You cannot your point. You cannot your point. And I didn't want to, because I felt like
And
I
I
hope-
hope, and I hope
because
after
you
Brian
answer.
it's me.
I am going to answer
Because
Brian.
otherwise you keep the debate
no.
between
And-
Hellen and
no.
Brian.
I must answer
Brian,
Brian.
quickly. This is a reaction to her comments. Quickly.
Okay. There's another thing of the struggle is it has taken long walk to work. What ANC fought for more than 100 years for the independence.
It was changing strategies.
Yes, was teaching strategy.
What strategy have you changed?
Walk to work
Apart
was
from
one.
making noise.
Yes, but noise is a strategy. It's a strategy.
It cannot
no,
be
no, you
continuous.
see, people don't
You
know
must
strategy.
be on the drawing board every time.
But lastly, I will not get my time. I'll answer her
Mm.
back because I think, lastly, the issue that you think that people are fighting in opposition instead of fighting in Museveni. If they attack me, if they attack us here and they are banging the door to kill us from here, and I'm planning to go to get a panga to be ready there, and you're here, if we are all under attack, and you're pulling my trouser, I first beat you, go and pick the panga, or else you pull me and the finance and kill us from here. So we are, you first fight the internal detractors and then go and fight. You cannot go to fight when the internal detractors. That's not the way people fight. Even in the bush of NRA, people are being killed because of betraying the struggle within there. Were they saying NRA was bad? No. And not only you know, all of us know, they have told you, they have written in books. So you can go with the debate.
Focus on Parliament now takes a short break. When we return, we continue the discussion on the effects of the money in the opposition political parties and how it is disorganizing them ahead of the 2026 general elections. See you shortly.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back. This is the Focus on Parliament show on Civic Space TV. Yamu, we left it at a point of a sharp disagreement between Hellen and Brian, contending about the field. We are examining if the field is leveled and if it can, facilitate fair participation and competition. But before you react to that, I know you're itching too. I have a specific question for you as well. Let us also examine the attitude of the president, who has presided over our national affairs for the last almost 40 years. We understand that when the NRM came to power, of course, they strongly objected to the multi-party political dispensation. Then with a lot of sustained and vigorous agitation by the different political formations, DP, UPC, also from, I think, pressure from the donors and whatnot. In 2005, there was a referendum, and it introduced as an outcome the multi-party political dispensation as we know it today. But critically, examining the attitude of the president, because he's also a fundamental stakeholder and player in this. We should expect better from him. Why should he dangle money to kill, democracy in the country? Why should he first have to approach, for example, a party like the DP to work with him within his government instead of focusing clearly on, service delivery and also promoting political pluralism in the country? So even as you react to their issues, I want you to consider that question.
Okay. Well, I had talked about it in the first submission, because I also said that the fact that we lack credible leaders this side of the coin didn't therefore mean that we have credible leaders this side. And I told you that it's also the president has played his part in to where we are, unfortunately, an unfortunate strategy to weaken the opposition. That is how he has decided to act as a player on the field. There was a gentleman some time back, for those that followed football, called Savage, Blackburn, Bobby Savage. He was he was bad news. He was such a tackler. So the president has decided to
be a savage of sorts.
Bobby Savage. But you see, Savage never changed his style of play. It had to be the other players to find out how
To
they
adjust.
accommodate. Yeah. So it's unfortunate that that is how he has decided to play, and not today, not yesterday. Ever since the removal of the term limits, the age limit, you saw what happened, and practically by design when it comes to competition for his authority, even when it's within the NRM, is just ruthless and seemingly has no boundaries on that. So, and the only solution we can have on that one is to pray, but we can't change him. It's up to him, and there have been people who have pleaded with him from inside and from outside, and it has not changed. Therefore, that's why my focus is on what can change. And
Can't the opposition perhaps do better to reflect a better attitude and also approach to doing things?
And this is what I was saying. You see, Brian tried to underscore my submission by saying that the struggle is about awangula afuge, first and foremost. And then you can go to the other issues. You see, even in the struggle of awangula afuge, you need leadership. And you don't need just anybody who can contribute to that struggle. Even in that struggle itself, you need competent, committed, patriotic, focused leadership, and it lacks. And that's the point I was trying to make. So even in that struggle, you actually need leadership. It's not that it can just happen. No, even there, you need leadership. So I was discussing that component in that sense. Then Hellen, and I hear her, and I agree with her, and it has become part of the symptoms of what our elders are leaving us. We have also become, since Brian had used the example of grasshoppers, and recently I had Matembe using it. You know, when you put grasshoppers in a bottle and you close, they scratch at each other. And yet they are all trying to find a way out of the bottle. So you can see we've also now fallen victim of the kind of politics and play that our elders have designed. And it's going to take us a bit of reflection and a bit of pullback. And, and that's why I think that when Hellen came in there and said, you see where we are there, she had a point, and then she went back in. So it's going to take us a bit of time to realize that we are not enemies. We are actually supposed to be colleagues. And that even in a family, like all of them here have alluded to, and I know as a matter of fact, there is disagreement. But the moment you know that it's your colleague, there is a way you therefore handle the disagreement. The problem is that when the disagreement happens and you already have in mind that this is your enemy, there is also a different way you approach that disagreement. But as we galvanize that unity of purpose, also we will not allow the Hellens to run away from the facts or tell lies What we were simply doing, in what she described as scratching at each other, is to put the facts as they are, so that we have a proper discussion based on facts. The fact that we are struggling to galvanize unity does not mean that we shall shy away from what the reality is and what the facts are. We'll have to find the strength and the courage to unite through those unfortunate facts as well. And Brian has alluded to an example of an enemy, and then you first heard from I was listening to Honorable Semju the other time, and then the journalist who you are saying was joking that the journalists were asking him, where is he going? So he said, you people, my house is on fire. Now, the first thing
It's thrown away.
is to run out of
Yes.
is to run out of the
Run
house.
out of the house.
The first reaction
Secure your life.
is secure your life. Then after, you attempt to try and put out the what?
The fire.
The fire. If it fails, then you now have to start thinking of where you can go. So you said, it seems we are failing to put out the fire. So now I'm starting to consider where am I going? It was it speaks a lot, and I thought that to buttress what Brian was saying, I should share. I found it quite hilarious, but yet it is so loaded with a lot of meaning. Now, maybe just put a ride on the first submission about the president and those around him and how they've. It is clear that there is an attempt to keep hold of the power and also determine who takes that power after they no longer have use for it, or even if they had use for it, it's no longer useful to them. So there is also the attempt of designing who takes over power by a very small majority, and yet we put up an impression that we're a democratic society, we hold these elections, they're supposed to be free and fair, and therefore, as Article 1 of the Constitution says, power belongs to the people. Clearly, that is not part of the design of the current holder of that power, and from the designs and strategy also is not ready to relent. Therefore, again, it's up to those that are on the side of Awangula Yavafuga to really become more sober than we have ever been, and therefore arrange ourselves better. It's very important that we unite now more than ever, whether in different formations or in the same formation.
But not every time people are sober do they make good decisions. Sometimes insane people, like people in the bush, sometimes insane people who would get you, and like when Mandela said, put necklaces, you know what I mean, the tires over, burn them, they made more contributions than those ones who are sober speaking English somewhere and writing papers. I know that it's a contribution, but the real ground is hostile that can't be sober on the ground.
Brian, let us also examine the contemporary examples. So recently, we understand that the First Son has formed a new pressure group. Some people have described it as a civic organization. I do not know if it really meets.
It can go to NGO bureau if
But that's what that's
no.
That's
you have
what
to make a civic organization and mobilize resources.
But it's not that a very civic
I'm giving to example. So a pressure group is here, but if he wants us to believe that it's only civic thing and nothing to do with politics, let him go to NGO bureau, they register him, we can go to RSB, and we shall know, we can have the best like we're having, understandable.
That's what they call it. So, but we know its precursor, the MK movement, in the past has also poached members of parliament, specifically from NUP, there is a legislator representing Jeru municipality. Then there is another one, Kagabo, representing one of the constituencies in the greater Masaka region. So it is now no longer just about the father, but now the strategy seems to be perpetuated also by the son. So the question I want to ask that, going into the next election in 2026, how can the opposition, like Yamu is arguing here, galvanize and maybe come up with a collective strategy to fend off this sort of maneuvers by the NRM?
Harmonize and senior government to do what exactly in 2026?
To lodge out the sitting government.
Through what?
You tell me, you're in the opposition.
Now that's where I don't understand some people, because now we have, first of all, I tried to speak about the field, and I ably showed you how the field is. And when she said that,
you think it is?
No, that's what it is. Okay. Because I've been a ball boy. She said I was in the field. No, I wasn't in the field. It's Mao who's in the field playing. Me, I was a ball boy. I even never got a chance to get a ball and throw. You know, sometimes you can be a ball boy and you don't get a ball to throw. So, if people are saying
Hellen has been on the same pitch, what have you been?
No.
They are in the pitch.
Spectator.
No,
They're in the we are all in the political pitch.
Now, the picture I've described is that it's very unfair, and you cannot see Uganda is a very special country. There is no calendar. I mean a calendar. We have had nine regimes, right? 9 presidents. So there's no president that has ever gone to power apart from no president has ever gotten power as the president of Uganda using a known calendar that on this day you got the ballot, line up, vote, and he goes.
Yes.
Nobody has ever used the calendar to go to power. Now, you're telling us, after 60 how many years of independence, that we just have 2 years on how to organize, and we're using a calendar this time to dislodge the junta. Now, and even the junta we have is even worse than the ones.
You've been doing that over time. Have you just gotten to know about that?
No. Problem I have is that she's saying that a barren woman and a barren man shouldn't play sex. Maybe for pleasure. Let me now go
Okay,
crack.
so you've been
let me go crass.
You've been participating in the election as a pleasure game.
No, sometimes
As a game.
not sometimes you do not do things to get the end results.
What have you been doing?
Sometimes you do them to form a relationship that takes to the end result. That's why they are girlfriends and boyfriends. Wives and a girlfriend and a boyfriend turn into a wife. So the participating, because the only time you can address a rally and tell them your message when there are 100 people is your elections. Now let me tell you something. Let me organize a rally in Mbarara to go tell people about Katonga faction. You see what will happen in Mbarara. Or let him organize one in Guru. But in during elections, because there are many observers and there are many people there, so you can able take the message to the people. Why you are discussing these things is because, secondly, you can only know that things don't work if you participate in them. You can't say they just don't work. Because anyway, there was this fuss that Uganda from 1986 had changed into a democratic space that you could contest and win. So Semogere went and said, it could be hard. President says it's hard. So it is not hard, but it is impossible actually, because the guns determine who becomes president. Actually, the bullets. You had 58 people killed in Kampala here. Not because of anything, because of an election. You have people arrested in 2021, still in prison, and you're discussing elections as a means of getting power.
So, Brian, as we head into the 2026 election, what's the way forward for the opposition?
Now,
what do we do?
Now, the opposition must organize daily. That's my head. One, you can
organize daily by doing what?
By mobilizing people. Resources in terms of money and the human resource and documentation and the media and everybody and everything you need in the struggle daily, and tell them that actually we can start a new campaign. That new campaign can start now, tomorrow, the other day, or even after 2026. When that campaign starts, it must continue whether there is an election or not. Problem is that people of Uganda have been told that when elections are over, there's no politicking, go back and sleep. No, my friend, we are saying you should go. You have stolen our election. So it must be politicking every day actually. In Uganda, if you have to have a life, because Museveni and his son are politicking daily while tying others on ropes and holding them. So when Katonga faction had the delegates conference the other year, you remember how tear gas and everything, people denied entrance, police participating in that. But have we heard that MK Nanga Mos, who is a military officer, actually, that's what a police officer, I don't know what I done. A police officer stopped me and said, I done an offense. I said, if you think you're a police officer, I've done a minor offense, you go and first arrest him, who's committing treason, and then come and charge me. If you think you are actually a police officer. And that's and you need people.
The two wrongs make a right.
No, they don't. I was always saying,
conclude.
you're leaving a petty thief, you're leaving a murderer and capturing a petty thief.
Petty thief later becomes a murderer.
Yes,
Hellen.
but this one has gotten into murder. So first get him. That's
Hellen, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to react to Brandy's submission, as you also share your closing remarks on the program.
Brand's discussions are very interesting. He's telling Ugandans to participate in politics daily and work when? When shall we talk about the country, talk about economics, talk about infrastructure?
Is politics and work mutually exclusive?
No,
I thought also the work, it's a function of the politics.
Do you know the politics he's talking about? The ones they are doing at Katonga. Going to Katonga to talk every day, and you know all of you are
What
running.
are you doing in government?
Are you feeding us?
No. That's why we are
no. Are you feeding? First of all, no. That's abuse. That's abuse. First of all, people who go to Katonga, you feed them. Are you richer than them?
That is how the dictator will end us buying all of us
because
we
sister said
shall
we're not
become
working.
desperate.
Hellen, your
Do you know
closing
why
remarks
the
on the
dictator is
program.
buying people? Because they are desperate.
But
Doing
you're working with
nothing.
him.
Just sitting. We have not been bought. We made an agreement. It's on black and white.
Share your closing remarks on the program, Hellen.
And I wanted to make it clear that Ugandans should go and should work. There should be time for politicking. There should be time to focus and talk about things that build this country. We cannot be every time coming to discuss politics. Just that's why I only want to disagree with him. But otherwise, he actually also rallying us to mobilize ourselves for meanwhile 2026 to participate in the very pitch. He's saying it's not leveled. And I am telling you, DP joined the government to look at the pitch and know how leveled it is.
How is it?
So that we know how to participate. We've done enough dialogue. We've been on the road.
So where is
with you.
DP in government or opposition?
We've been on the roads with you. We are preparing ourselves.
The question has persisted. To go where? In government
We
or in
are preparing
opposition?
ourselves. For us, as DP, we don't prioritize the side that we are at. We prioritize the country.
Okay, as you concluded.
And we are saying that for us, whichever side you place us, you can place us in opposition,
You'll
place us in
contribute
government.
accordingly.
For us, want to contribute
Country
accordingly
first.
to the country as Uganda, because if anything, we do not have any other country. When you go somewhere else, you'll be called a refugee. So we do not want that. So and in the end, I want to rally opposition that please, can we focus and stop fighting ourselves? And know the enemy and chase the enemy and stop chasing ourselves. If you're in opposition and you're in that battle and you're fighting ourselves in DP, even in DP, there are people that have been asking, why should you be in a political party? Again, be opposition in that political party. You cannot be opposition in almost twice. How? You're in DP. DP is an opposition political party. Okay, let me use FDC. You're in OFDC. OFDC. FDC is an opposition political party. You again want to oppose within FDC. You are another opposition. When will you
And
focus?
I'm afraid our time is fast spent.
For me, we should be focusing on things that build this country, and we build it together. Because at the moment, every other strategy that we put across is not seemingly working out so fast. So we must first sit down and study. Maybe we've not done enough study of what the junta is using and the tactics. We should take time. And this time around in 2026, any opposition political party that is serious on taking government and wants state power should take a lot of time to study and understand the field before going. I think we've not been doing that very well.
Thank you, Helen. Yam, I'm going to invite you to sum up on the topic and also share your closing remarks with the viewers.
Thank you. But fortunately for Helen, the President General Norbert Mao is leading the transition, so so we'll handle that.
She says they have been benchmarking
Yeah,
on how to lead the government.
so anyway, that's on a lighter note. I think that the question you posed was about money within the political parties, but clearly the challenge of political parties and democratic growth, rule of law, constitutionalism in our country is much bigger than that. And one, if we had the goodwill of those that are in charge of the state and therefore can determine some variables and constants for the leveling of the field, that the way Unstoppable described it clearly, it's not leveled, we could say that therefore we could be out of the woods soon. But it is clear that from those that manage that field, or the constants of the field, will not give us the variables that favor all sides. Therefore, the struggle on this side is twofold. One, level the playing field, and then there also play and beat the other team. And that will take much, much, much more than what we are currently offering as the people on this side. There is clearly a difference of opinion in terms of strategy. There is clearly a difference of opinion on how we work together. But I think that what could be the uniting factor is for each of us to close their doors and ask themselves what's good for this country. And if we can have genuine conversation with self on that question, I'm sure we shall be able to make some bit of headway. And I call upon again those within my age bracket, which is not a young age bracket, which is a young adult maybe, but to be more critical and to be more alive and to be more conscious about the happenings of our politics now, because inevitably we will inherit this or it will inherit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jotan, for your views. Brian, your parting shot.
They should have a nice weekend and should fight every day and politics every day. Don't fight politics. Politics is work.
Thank you, sir. I want to appreciate you, lady and gentlemen, for your able participation on this program on matters respecting our national governance and political body politic. To our viewers, once again, we appreciate you for keeping us company from the start of the program up to its conclusion. You can engage us on our various social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on X. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And indeed, much appreciation to our production unit for keeping us on air. We'll see you next time. Be blessed.